Welcome to Obsessed with Success, starring Russel Morgan.
Welcome to Obsessed with Success, the podcast where legal insight meets real-world leadership. I'm Sophia Morales, here with Russel Morgan, founder and CEO of Morgan Legal Group. Today's episode is all about leadership, not just as a lawyer, but as the head of a business. What does it really take to lead a law firm in today's economy? Welcome, Russel. I'm so happy to have you here with me today.
As always, great to see you, Sophia.
So let's start with kind of the foundation. What is the hardest leadership lesson that you had to learn after starting your firm?
The hardest leadership lesson has to be that you are accountable for everyone's conduct, good, bad, or otherwise. As a leader, regardless of your team and how good and great they are, you are accountable for your firm. It's your name on the door. Now, that is a good thing on one hand, because at the end of the day, recognition is the name of the game. Ensuring that you have cornered your market capital, your market share is the reason why we're here. It also has other factors to it that it means that anytime your team is not doing as great, we have to take accountability. We have to make sure that we lead by example and have systems in place that can show our team that they're praised for their accolades, but more importantly, how they're taught from anything that maybe wasn't done right. So accountability has to be your number one lesson, and it has to come back and be one of the foundations of any business and any growing firm.
Yeah, and it's great when the team is doing amazing, and it's really stinks sometimes when they're not.
And regardless of whether they're doing great or not so great, it's your job to make sure that you provide them the tools and the resources that if they're not doing so great, that you have a morale booster. It can be something simple, a retreat, a luncheon, a baseball game, something simple to keep your morale up. Because at the end of the day, your firm, your business is only as good as your team, as the people around you. So that comes back to accountability. You're responsible not just to your clients, but you're responsible to your team to make sure that we have a healthy work environment, to make sure that we have a great work culture, and that you have an open door policy, that people can come to you when there is a problem and know that you'll address it, most important.
Yeah, exactly. So what does it mean when you say to lead like a founder rather than just managing a legal team?
Leading like a founder means you are bringing to today the same energy that you brought from day one. Everybody remembers their first day, and it may be the scariest day, but it's also the most exciting day. Leading like a founder means that same energy that you brought, that same excitement that you had in the pit of your stomach when you were first starting your firm, is the way that you're operating today. That we're constantly innovating, that we're constantly expanding, that we're constantly growing. One of my mantras is stagnation is death, and growth is the most important part of scalability of any business. Leading like a founder is continuing growth day in and day out. It's dedication to your team, it's dedication to your business, most importantly to your base, to your clients, to your service, and to the products that you deliver.
That always sounds great on paper. How do you, in your own life, your own firm, keep that excitement fresh and renewed? Because some days are rougher than others.
You have to count your blessings, and you have to be thankful for the bad days as much as you are for the good days. If you can't walk away from your bad days with the lesson in the back of your head, not the negative energy that came from the experience, but what is it that I can do tomorrow to improve what happened today, to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's the energy that you have to walk in with day in and day out. The best version of yourself yesterday is the worst version of yourself today. That's the mindset that I bring to my table every single day. That's the mindset I bring to our team every single day. And it's leading by example and showing the team that this isn't just talk. It's not just words on a piece of paper. It's doing the things that you say and saying the things that you do. If we talk about expansion and we're letting you know that we're growing, show performance, show the growth. If you're setting certain goals and expectations, whether it's compensation packages, whether it's certain areas of practice, whether it's a type of business that you're expanding into, do what you say at the end of the day. Because you as a leader, your word is everything. And the second that your team stops believing in your vision, you lost it. You've lost the hope that your team has. Because at the end of the day, people who are here to stay believe in your vision. They believe in your business, and believing in your vision and your business means they believe in you. And the second they stop believing in you, where's the team? There is no more team. That's the level of energy you have to bring on a day-to-day.
So, what kind of systems or rituals have you developed in order to help you and your team remain focused as your client base started to grow?
Coming back to basics is number one. Delivering the best product, delivering the best service is fundamental to any type of growth. Because what usually happens when you see expansion in any type of firm, business, or otherwise, or whether it's a franchise or a law firm, when you see growth, unfortunately, a lot of the times you'll see decrease in quality. And that's the most important part, that no matter how big you get, no matter how large your practice is or how large your firm is, that quality of service, quality of the product that you're delivering is getting better rather than getting worse. So that is the foundation of growth. Now, with growth, you're going to have some growing pains. And the other part is your communication, your feedback from your clients is one of the pillars of whether you're going to continue expansion or not. Bad feedback in my business is just as good as good feedback. Constructive criticism helps you grow. It helps you expand. Unfortunately, you don't see that often enough. You don't see people learning from mistakes or missteps. Rather, people take it offensively. In my mind, this is an opportunity to understand that this is either a client or someone you're doing business with. It could be a partner, a professional relationship, coming to you from a, let's just say, unbiased perspective to tell you, look, you have to step it up. And if you're taking that in any other way other than, I need to pay attention, I need to listen here, then you're never going to grow. You're going to continue to be stagnant. You keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same results. So your client communication has to remain your number one priority, no matter how big you get. Your work product, your service, the quality has to be top, regardless of your size.
So, as you grow, I know one of the challenges can be maintaining the culture, which for a lot of people feels kind of squishy and maybe a little esoteric, especially when it comes to hiring. So, how do you approach that when you're looking at both skill sets and mindsets? Because people look different on paper than they are in reality.
I have a very simple mantra in my firm and really in any business that I'm involved in. We only want people that want to be here. And that means we only want people that enjoy doing what they're doing. That in itself drives positive work culture. We're not a firm that wants to take you on just because you're really good at what you do. That's great. But if you don't like what you're doing, that's going to bleed out into your work. That's going to bleed out in your communication with your clients, with your peers. So most importantly, we want people who are passionate, people who love what they're doing. And beyond that, it's a balance of personality, because of course you're going to have people that may not necessarily be the best fit in the same department. Skill, of course, being one of your markers, but it can't be the only reason why you're hiring someone. passion for what you do comes first. It comes before skill. It comes before hard work. Your mindset is based on whether you're passionate about your work or not. And if you are, you're going to deliver some stellar product. You're going to deliver some wonderful services. You're going to enjoy what you're doing. You won't call it work. You'll enjoy what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, versus someone who can be number one at what they're doing, but is completely miserable at their job. And that bleeds into your work culture. That negativity spreads. So above all else, we pick by profession, we pick people who are perfectionists, not because of their skill set, but because they're passionate for what they do.
So I know a lot of times we have all of the best will and we set up our processes and we think we've got the right people in the right seats. But sometimes things go wrong anyway. How do you start to determine whether it's a people problem, a systems issue, or some sort of a leadership gap?
Any problem is always a top-down approach, because whether it's a people issue, whether it's systems, a leadership gap, usually there's some issue coming from the top down. Because if the communication isn't right between your standards of procedure, between the lower tier, middle tier, and your leadership, everything else will crumble. So my approach is start with leadership. This is why our businesses are broken up into departments. This is why you have managers managing managers, why you have directors managing directors, members of the board overseeing the rest. And usually it comes top down, where some issue is going on with leadership. Now, it could be departments are bumping heads. It could be something that leadership is not seeing, or a system that they don't have in place that should be implemented, but simply isn't. Or it could be something that is in place that we're simply not doing. But the only way for you to address it is top down, starting. Beyond that point, it's an honest conversation with your team members. And that's the other part, is you have to keep an open door policy, regardless of the type of business you're in, regardless of the type of practice you're in. Your staff, your team members, your leaders, they have to be able to come and talk to you when there's a problem. Because the longer the problem lingers, doesn't matter if it's systems or people, it just gets worse. And if people are afraid to come talk to you, you are the problem. And that's why we stress that the most. This is why we have weekly meetings with departments, why we have weekly check-ins with our managers, with our team leaders, with our staff members, why we have all hands meetings that happen regularly with the entire firm, just to make sure that everyone is heard and everyone has a voice, so that if there's an issue, we can catch it before it gets worse. We can address it and implement something that will fix the problem immediately.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing is it's always a leadership problem first
It
before
starts,
it's anything else.
it starts with leadership. And,
Yeah.
in most cases, it's a top-down issue. Because if your leadership is weak, the rest of the team is going to be weak. They're looking to your leader. They're looking to their manager. They're looking to their director. How are they operating? Are they holding themselves accountable? How are they communicating with clients? How is their work product? How is their organization? How is their communication? How are they managing their department? Because if they're not doing it, the person's mindset is, why should I be doing it if the people at the top are not? So I'll just sit here and, click on the keyboard, do my 9 to 5 and move on. And we don't want that. We want people that are passionate. So it does start with leadership, but we have to make sure everybody has a voice.
So what advice do you have to lawyers who are just have the philosophy of, I got into this to practice law, not to run a business?
Sorry to break it to you. The practice of law is a business. Now, if you want to practice law, not run a business, then find a job, get hired, and you don't have to run a business. You can just be a lawyer. If you're going into private practice, be prepared to operate a business just like any other business. Now, what most people see is freedom. What most people are hoping for is freedom. What they're not understanding most of the time, unfortunately, is the responsibility and accountability that comes with it. So you have to be fearless. You have to be relentless. You have to be obsessed with success at the end of the day. And it really is about persistence and consistency. And if you're here to be a lawyer, that's perfectly fine. I know hundreds of brilliant lawyers that are not necessarily interested in the business of practicing law. And that's totally fine. They're some of our best team members. That doesn't mean they want to go into private practice. So I would caution as a word to the wise that before you go into private practice, you have to be prepared to run your business like a business. And if you're afraid of failure, if you're afraid of growing pains, it may not be the right fit. Now, that doesn't mean we don't do it. That means that you need to have the right resources in place. You need to have the right mentorship in place, the right systems in place, and really the right colleagues. Because some of the best lessons I've ever learned were from my peers, from other practitioners, from other solos who grew and grew exponentially. And it's a conversation. That conversation turns into an idea. The idea turns into a deck sheet. The deck sheet turns into an implementation. And then it's really trial and error. So it's a cautionary tale to be prepared. And with that being said, say thank you, regardless of how good or bad your days are. Because at the end of the day, we're blessed. We were given this opportunity to help others. And that's something that you should be grateful for day in and day out, good day or bad.
So I know along these journeys we evolve. I find that entrepreneurship is one of the biggest self-development things you can take on. How has your definition of leadership changed from day one until now?
Leading by example is probably one of the most defining and most imperative characteristics of being a leader. Now, when starting your first business, you see the freedom, you see the opportunity, but once you start growing and understand there's micromanaging that comes into play, there's management that comes into place, there's quality control that we have to deal with. You have advertising, you have marketing, your own professional integrity, your work product, your services. At the end of the day, any business, any practice, you must lead by example. You have to be prepared that your team is relying on you to do the things that you say you're going to do. Now, that means delivering the services that you are contracted to deliver. That means being the best of the best at what you do. That means maintaining a positive work culture. Your operations have to be fluid. And above all else, we're in an ever-changing market. So leading by example means understanding that change is evident. And if you're unable to move with the changes and adapt as they come, and in most cases, you really should be learning how to predict the changes, how to anticipate them, and what we need to do to address them. And that in itself builds your team's rapport. That's what gives you the authority that you have in your firm. It's what gives you the ability to say you are the greatest or the best. Because if your team believes in you, it strengthens not just the rapport with your clients, but the overall community. Leading by example means your team members are going home wanting to come back the next day, and making sure that that energy stays and stays for good, because we want people to be here. We want our team members to be here forever, if possible, or as long as possible. And to do that, leading by example means building a culture where they want to come in every day and be the best version of themselves that they can be.
I love that. That is awesome. So I really appreciate you coming and sharing all this with us today.
Absolutely.
And thank you to everyone who joined us here today. Remember that strong leadership builds strong firms. Make sure to check out morganlegalny.com for more information or to reach out to Russell. If this episode has sparked new ideas for you about how you lead, please subscribe and share Obsessed with Success with someone who needs to hear it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.